Of course, he had no clue that these people had known me since I was a little girl, and I used to sing and play on my guitar, and a lot of them were family, but he was magical. Everything was magical about that. So he asked me to join the band, and I said I couldn't because I was going to school full-time and had 2 jobs. So he tracked me down a couple weeks later and said, "This is just for fun. We rehearse twice a week and play on the weekend. It won't cut into your schedule at all." Yeah. So of course that made all the sense in the world to me, because now not only was I getting to expand my mind on my way to becoming a French-speaking psychologist, I was going to sing with an actual band. I was excited. And sing I did. And eventually I began to write. Songs began to pour out of me and into the world, and our music slowly became the soundtrack to other people's lives. My music was making other people cry, like the songs that I had sung alone in my room had made me cry and helped me to weather storms and let out emotions that could have scarred me for life had I not had my music as an outlet. And through all of this, Emilio and I were falling in love. He became my first and only boyfriend. Yes, he found the last remaining virgin in the 70s. Hey, those were wild times back then, okay? Indeed. And I was facing some serious decisions. Do I go on to the clinical psychology school at UM where I had already been accepted? Do I move to Paris and study international law at the Sorbonne where I had also been accepted? Do I leave my mom and sister alone to care for my very sick dad? Do I leave the man that I was falling in love with? And not to mention leave music, my constant companion who had gotten me through some very rough times. I was at a crossroads. Like I said, I am you. I imagine that many of you here today are facing that very same fork in the road, that crossroads that, depending on what decisions you make, may change or affect the rest of your lives. And I believe my place in your lives right now is to share with you a little of what I've learned along the way so that you can discard what you might not need and hopefully find at least something that you can take along with you on your journey. Because this is a commencement speech after all, and you're about to do precisely that, commence. You also may have just finished something, but in effect, you're about to make a new beginning. And each of you has an amazing opportunity to affect the world through the thoughts and energy that you put out there into the cosmos and with your actions and decisions. When I was at that first important crossroads, because in life there would be many, I decided to choose with my heart and not just my head. I believe that that gut feeling we all experience at some moment is one of the most useful tools that we are given when we enter this life. It's important to listen to it, to give it weight, because sometimes we can be blinded by the very knowledge with which we fill our heads. There's a chakra right there in our solar plexus, and it is one of our best connections to each other and to all that there is, invisible and very powerful. So I listened to my inner voice and I chose love, the love of my family, the love of my life, and the love for my music. But the things that I had studied, the knowledge I had acquired, became an integral part of what I did and who I became, and of each and every one of my choices. Instead of psychoanalyzing people one by one like I had planned, through the songs I've written, I've been able to reach into the psyches of millions of people that I will probably never meet. But if my songs touch them in some way, I can affect their thoughts and their moods, make them happy, help them to cry. And although those of you who have heard my music may not be conscious of it, much thought and deliberation, emotion, and love has been put into each of those songs in the hopes that it'll be something enjoyable and fun and useful to those who are listening. Some songs like Coming Out of the Dark and Always Tomorrow, I believe have simply come through me. I was a channel, a vessel, because they were meant to be here. And on more than one occasion, someone has told me that they were just about to give it all up and call it quits for this life. And one of those songs came on the radio right when they were about to do the deed, and they listened and decided to hang on. They felt there had to be a reason for that song to come on the radio at that particular time. And it was meant to be a message to them. And I feel blessed that I could, in some small way, be a part of it. In those moments, I feel like I'm the psychologist that I dreamed of being. And in songs like Conga, that the wonderful orchestra, thank you very much, you sounded beautiful with your rendition. Conga, I mean, if you play it backwards, there's a subtle message, a subliminal, to pick up a pair of maracas and go beat Fidel Castro senseless over the head with it. No one has discovered this yet, but check it out. The same is true for my studies in French, which broadened my love for languages, and whenever I've had the opportunity in my concerts, I've spoken to people in different countries in their native tongue. And even if it's only a few words, I find that it's important to reach out and show them that I truly want to make that connection. In fact, in Japan, I blew them away because, I have a really good ear, and I practiced a little speech, and they couldn't believe it. They thought I spoke Japanese. I still remember it. Ongaku wo tsujite, watashi o aishi, mata ukeirete kudasate, arigatou gozaimasu. Any Japanese people that would care to translate it? The things that I learned here at have stayed with me and enriched my life, and prodded me when I didn't feel I had the strength to take an unpopular stance. I took a course here called Literature of the Holocaust. It was taught by an Auschwitz survivor who was 15 when the liberation forces freed her from the camp. She had been repeatedly raped as a child. She still had her number tattooed on her arm. I would leave that class crying every single day. But by sharing her experiences and those of the authors who had survived that insanity, she left an indelible mark on my soul. I had taken that class because I wanted to try to understand how we humans could do such incomprehensible things to one another. And I learned a lot. But the one thing that I've carried with me always, and it has spurred me into action at different crucial moments in my life, is the knowledge that silence is our enemy. So I've spoken out, even when there have been consequences. Because in that class, I learned how dangerous it is to stay silent in the face of cruelty or violence. That class affected my choices and continues to do so. So regardless of the fact that I ended up doing something completely different than what I had prepared for during my years at I know that my education has enriched every aspect of my life and continues to do so. The only thing I feel I may have missed out on was my commencement. Because when I finished school, I was still working 3 jobs. We were planning our wedding. Emilio and I had just started our own publishing company, and we were recording our 3rd album. Life got in the way, as it tends to do. But I was enjoying each moment of my harried existence and loving everything that I did. And as time passed, I have been able to filter out those necessary evils that come along with building a career or building a life, and do only those things that I find are important enough to give time and effort to, like being here with you today. Like I said, I am you. It's actually one of the best perks of being older, if you play your cards right. You can pick what you want to do. But you don't have to be older or have a full life's experience to learn how to enjoy each moment that you're living, no matter how difficult it may be. It will always teach you something. You can only become stronger if you're challenged and tested. And every experience brings with it a purpose and a possibility to enrich your life. And what is it that will enrich your lives? What could be your purpose? Although I can't answer that question for each of you sitting here today, I can certainly leave you thinking about what I believe purpose is about. I feel that to have a purpose is to continue to grow, to do something that means something to someone else, and in doing so, to our world. And when I say world, I don't mean you personally must take on a global initiative. But sometimes we get bogged down and disheartened thinking that we're this tiny speck that cannot possibly have any kind of influence on the big picture. But if you've ever stubbed your toe or had a toothache, it's easy to see how something small can have a big impact. And I truly believe that we are, each and every one of us, connected to everything and to everyone else, and can profoundly influence life, even with our simplest actions. If we really stop to think about it, life is about the small things, all strung together to create a lifetime. And if we honor each of those moments by being completely present in them, we can access that power that connects us to everything. If we focus on each moment, we bring quality to what we do, even to the most mundane actions. We can become channels, opening up to the consciousness that is available if we just listen. Sometimes it takes something as simple as paying attention. And perhaps that's my purpose here, right now, with you today. To remind you to pay attention, to make your life what you want it to be, to make it happen. Ever since I was a young girl, I have felt that I was here to be of service, and this thought has been ever present in every aspect of my life. It fills me with joy to be able to be of service to someone else. And despite going through some very difficult moments, I have felt content that I was experiencing something that would teach me, that would make me much stronger. I can't tell you that there were never dark moments when I felt like giving up, but even through those moments, I felt the reverence of connectedness to nature, to animals, to the world. And despite whatever inner pain I might have been feeling, this connection has kept me engaged and curious as to what else the cosmos has in store for me. It never ceases to amaze me. Because although I missed my commencement, I got the beautiful opportunity to share yours. Congratulations, class of 2010, and please remember that you can stop going to school, but don't ever stop learning. Thank you very much. Felicidades a todos los graduados de habla hispana. Thank you.
Gloria Estefan.